I don't believe there are that many geniuses out there or people who are just raw talent. I feel like everybody puts in the work and gets there. And really to just pick something you can finish is so satisfying.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode of Work, Life, Play. Finding work-life play rhythms that are sustainable, we can actually maintain, and giving the middle finger to the idea of work-life balance. It's not obtainable, it's not going to happen, but you can find sustainable rhythms in ways that you live that are life-giving. And our guide today is Brendan Leonard. So he is super rad, and what is cool about Brendan is that he is an uber adventurer. A friend of mine gave me a copy of his book, one of his many books, called The Art of Getting Lost. So we got a chance to connect and have a conversation. And what I loved about our conversation that you'll hear is that we talk about the everyday muscle, building this everydayness in us so that when we're actually stepping forward in things, we just create micro goals, no excuses, just produce, get her done, and move forward. So I know you'll enjoy his work. You'll find all of his work at Semi-Rad.com. Got some really cool stuff on Instagram. He's a really cool graphic artist. He's a contributing writer for Outside Magazine. Just all around super rad dude. So enjoy the conversation. As always, it has a touch of soul to it, adventure to it, work to it, play to it, people to it. You'll enjoy it. It's good for you. You can do this. Keep going. I just looked up, you did last year 52 marathons in 52 weeks. And that was all self-directed on your own. You write books, you do these uber adventures. And then on top of that, you're an artist. And so you're, and I guess all of that's in the frame of an artist, but I'm thinking everything from like filmmaking to like sketches and drawings on your website. So kind of walk us through is there a theme that you, even as you try and describe the work that you do in the world?
Boy, yeah, I think I do well with sort of micro art, I guess, or micro goals, if you will, maybe. And I guess I was trying to be a writer for sort of outdoor publications right when I got out of grad school in 2004. And it's a slow start, it's, Outside Magazine doesn't necessarily want to buy your story when you have zero experience and really no writing experience to speak of besides your college newspaper. So they're not exactly going, yeah, let's give this person $5,000 to try to tell a feature story about something that may or may not be very good. So I guess I kept trying and sort of got a few things into smaller publications, and then was just starting to get a bit of a foothold with more glossy magazines like Climbing and Backpacker. I was going to have some stuff published there, and I started my own blog. So it was just like this thing where I decided I'm going to write something every week and see what happens. And I'll do it for a year. And if nothing happens or I get sick of it, I'll just quit. And if it takes off, maybe I'll keep doing it. And that was just over 9 years ago. So I've been doing a weekly post every week for 9 years, and just sort of having fun with it and seeing what people respond to, and mostly about adventure, but sort of bleeding into other things as well. Eventually, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, Outside Magazine just reached out and said, hey, we'd like to just basically syndicate your blog, take it off your website, put it on Outside's website, get it to our audience. Would you be into that? And
no way, come on.
So that was super cool. And that's the way it works today too. So I do have to consider their audience when I do stuff as well. So like, how would this topic work for them? But for the most part, they leave it alone and are just kind of like, do your thing. And, if it's good, it's good. Some weeks I feel like I bunt, or I get to first base on balls, and some weeks you hit a home run. And I think the investment for them is hopefully worth it in the home runs. And by the time Outside came around to me and said, we want to publish this, I had I think almost 7 years of doing it and was kind of figuring it out. And it's not a big risk. I don't usually do very controversial topics, and I don't take these like sort of trolling type points of view or anything like that. I generally am positive, and I generally am just trying to, hey, everybody, let's have a good laugh at the weird things we do in the outdoors. And I hope it's working for them. And it's been working for me too. And I took that same sort of ethos I started drawing charts on Instagram late 2016. Just, thinking of things. And I've started calling them emotional data visualization, where it's not actual data. It's like, here's what it looks like when I go to the grocery store that I always go to versus, how long it takes me to get through a grocery store I've never been in before. Like, where do these people keep the hot sauce, and like how, so I'll draw a map of the two things side by side. And it's just ridiculous things like that. And like bar charts and pie charts and, things about my dog and funny things that I hope other people are going through too. And you're giving people this, what I think of as like a digital greeting card to send to their friends or their loved ones, about this perfectly captures how you're always trying to talk to me as you're walking away from me in the house, and I have to follow you down the hallway and say, what did you say? And funny things like that couples do or friends do or, dog owners do or whatever. And I have tried to do 3 of those a week for, 3 years now. And that has sort of gained its own following as people's tastes have changed or willingness to sit down and read something that takes longer than 15 seconds. So I just keep trying stuff, and, some of it works, some of it doesn't. And most of it is fun usually. So it's sort of the business plan, I guess.
I'm looking at Instagram right now. One of them, this micro goals. So for 9 years, weekly posts, then that gets picked up and syndicated. Now 3 years, 3 times a week on Instagram. These charts. What was the phrase that you used for them?
Emotional data visualization.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'm going to write that one down. I like it. I guess just tell me more about like, what is it about the staying power that keeps you going? Whether it's 52 weeks and 52 marathons, or it's 3 posts a week on Instagram with these charts, or it's 9 years weekly posts on your blog, the micro goals. What is it about that kind of inner drumbeat, inner cadence that enables for you just to have that fortitude and grit to keep going?
I do well with the set a goal, get to the top of the mountain, get through the finish line, get through the mileage that you want to run today. And then setting the goals for like my blog or how many Instagram posts I think I can actually do sustainably that's important too. I think nowadays you're taught that the algorithm rewards you if you post 7 days a week, every single day. And I just don't have that. I just can't do it. If I did that, 4 of them would be garbage probably. So what's the point? So I've had a very slow growth of that side of my creative following. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I think it's just self-motivated to try to maintain the freedom creatively and schedule-wise of doing my own thing. I hope I do my best by doing my own thing. I try to structure my job with as few conference calls, phone calls. So I just want to be in my space, thinking up my stuff and like working on it. For the most part, I try to do my own thing. And I really enjoy that. Just the ability to go, if I want to go on an overnight backpacking trip in the middle of the week, I can, or even just go out for breakfast on a Tuesday. That's the best part of the job. Does it beat having an employer match 401k and like health insurance and dental insurance? Probably not for most people, but for me, it's pretty great. So
it sounds like very engineer specific. If this is what I'm wanting, this is what I want the experience of my life to look like, the freedoms that I want, the et cetera, then that means this. So that black and white thinking seems to then yield that, I guess, a linear connection to that, how to engineer your life in such a way that you can do that. Right.
No excuses, just produce, that sort of idea. I think of it also as just backing away from the things you don't want, maybe, where you realize, I don't know if I work so well in a 9-to-5 office environment. Maybe I'll try to get out of that, or maybe I don't do so well with this. Maybe I'll, and check that off your list and pursue other things until you have something that looks sort of like what you envision or what feels really good.
Tell me about your collaboration work, maybe even friendship with Forrest Woodward. I'm looking at the Camping Life book that you have.
Yeah, we met 2012. A mutual friend invited both of us on this charity mountain climb of Mount Whitney. So it was like snow climb up the Mountaineers route with like 10 other people.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, we just kind of hit. Yeah, I actually used to have that friend's job, and I was the previous person in that position where you convince people to do these charity mountain climbs, which is it's a cool job. But yeah, you end up doing a couple of them yourself, and he invited us, and I said, "Oh, sure, that sounds great." Forrest and I met, and yeah, just a great photographer. We started doing magazine features together, and then only did like a handful of those, and then we started working on film projects together, which is really fun because I had no visual, eye for anything, and learned quite a bit from him just in watching him, sort of over the shoulder thing. And then, yeah, what have we done? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like 5 or 6 films together, short films. And then we finally did a book a couple of years ago. I think we spent the better part of, I think it was like 70 some days out in the field shooting these trips for this camping book, just doing everything from big wall climbing to, skiing Mount Shasta to snow camp and multi-day sea kayaking trips, backpacking. It's been a lot of fun for sure.
I'm looking through the camping book and it's just exquisite. It's like coffee table quality.
Sticks around longer than Instagram for sure. We've really had a great year of just going all around the country with different friends and saying, "Hey, can you go backpacking up the Lost Coast Trail with us for 4 days?" Or, we want to take you skiing on Mount Shasta, or we want to take you to a treehouse in Kentucky, or took some friends glamping in upstate New York and bike touring on the C&O Canal, stuff like that. So it was just really a cool year project.
Yeah, right on. What I'd love for you to do, Brendan, is would you act as a coach for the next few minutes and coach us on this no excuses, just produce? So for those people that are listening that are puzzled by that and they have infinite lists of possibilities of things they could do, should do, lists that go with their lists, and yet really just struggle to convert that into action. How can you translate your superpower into some actionable steps they might choose?
That's funny because as you say that, I literally have all those things going on too. Like, how am I going to make
you're not on camera, so I can't see. You're able to hide all those.
Yeah, no, they're all on my phone and every other place. But I think this is true in any creative medium. All you need is permission. And if you just give yourself permission, you can start doing it. The way things go now, you don't really have to ask. You can self-publish a book like in an afternoon if you sit down and do it and you have the writing finished. I think most people's problem is having the confidence to get started and say, I am doing watercolor landscape prints and I'm going to put these out there and see what people think of them and try to drum up a following on social media or whatever it is, and I think to encourage people, I would say it's a very low risk endeavor to put creative work out there, unless you're emotionally sensitive and what you have to say is very controversial. Because I try to just shy away from arguing with people on the internet. So, when you put stuff out there at first, no one's going to read it. It's like, don't worry. You're not, your mom's going to like it. And then maybe 5 of your friends will read it, but you're not going to you're not pushing publish on the internet and immediately getting it in front of millions of people. And by the time you do have a large following, you can go back and delete that old stuff. It's just like, God, I hate that drawing. I know a few people liked it, but I'm just gonna take that offline. And, I have 9 years of blogs, and when I scroll through them, sometimes I'll go through to make sure the site's working okay, and I'll be like, what was that one about? And I'll click on it and I'm like, this piece of garbage, I'm going to unpublish this, whether it's podcasting, sculpting, whatever, I don't believe there are that many geniuses out there or people who are just raw talent. I feel like everybody puts in the work and gets there. And really to just pick something you can finish is so satisfying for me personally. That's why I sort of tackle small goals before I try to, I want to write a 900-page book, and it's like, that's huge. That gives you a lot of room to fail. And, if you say, I want to write 500 words a day until I have a book, that's manageable. 300, that's even more manageable. Most days you'll end up writing way more than that, We're intimidated by trying to do something and being bad at it and, sucking at first and then waiting to having the patience to get better. But a lot of people will set goals that are really way too large, and it doesn't take into account all the little work that goes into it to achieve that big goal. So it's like that classic New Year's resolution, I'm going to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to run a sub 4-minute mile this year. And I'm starting from 0 and I'm going to go to 100. I'm like, dude, try to get to 10, start from 0 and get to 5, see if you can make it happen for a week and then try to do something for a year, as opposed to saying, I'm going to do X thing every day this year. And these big unattainable goals that go fly in the face of our, really human things about us that, things do come up. You maybe not be able to write 500 words a day for 365 days straight. Maybe you should only do it 3 days a week. Maybe you definitely have to go to the gym on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or it's your turn to take the kids to daycare or something like that. It's like, factor in that stuff before you put up these big audacious goals.
And I just love, again, it's just anchored in this, I would just call it like the gift of everydayness.
Yeah.
I think I have to look at my phone, but I think it's 19-day running streak, just super small. I'm going to do 1 mile a day, period. And I'll do more some days, but every day I'll do a minimum of a mile. And then I got some buddies and said, hey, you guys should join me. And then we'll do it with a pool. And each guy that drops out has to put in $100 so that the last man standing gets, the 300 of the other 4. And so it's been super fun. And I've done way more than a mile a day some days, but then some days I'm not. And but back to what's manageable. What can I do? What's the no excuses, just produce, the do it or fail, why try, all those same things. And I think what I heard Seth Godin say once is that it's an easy decision once you make it once. And what he was talking about is, in his case, he's been writing a daily blog for over 11 years and hasn't missed a day. And I've heard other people ask him, how do you do that? And he's like, I decided to do it, period.
Period.
I made that decision one time and I've never looked back on it. And then it builds over time. And then I appreciate you're highlighting what oftentimes when we see people we admire or aspire to be like. I read an article once, it was about talking about technology companies a number of years ago. And it was saying that an overnight success is actually 10 years in the making of somebody busting their ass every day. Very infrequently is what we see when at somebody's pinnacle, like you mentioned, is actually the reality. There's actually behind the scenes, would you call it the invisible work or the hidden work?
Yeah, for the invisible work is what I call it.
Yeah, it's so many hours, days, months, years, thanklessness, invisible hiddenness that I think people just underestimate when they're sitting at the starting line, trying to say, how do I just hurry up and get to the finish line like I see Brendan's at today? And I think that's just the wrong question. The better question is, what is it that I can start, that I can do? And then if I can get over that fear, and you mentioned too, the emotionally sensitive, if you are doing controversial stuff, you better have some pretty thick skin. But if you're going to ship a drawing on Instagram, like you said, your mom and 3 people are going to see it at first. So it's not a big deal. And you can go delete it later if you have to.
Yeah. And it can go viral, but also I think of that slow grind as well. And I don't know that having 2 explosive things a year is a good motivation as opposed to a good small audience that's really engaged with what you do. And if I could go back to when I was younger and trying to write, I would say, look, do you actually just do you actually want to write or do you want to be famous? Because I think when I was younger, I thought, oh my God, that'd be so great to be famous. And now I'm like, that would be the worst thing ever. Like, can you imagine being like Leonardo DiCaprio trying to go buy avocados at, the grocery store? No, I want to go buy my own groceries. I need to be recognized on the street. Would I like to make people's lives better in a small way? Sure. But being famous has nothing to do with that, So I think there's a couple of different motivations for people nowadays with creative work, or always has been. And I think the more mature you are, the more real you can get about your motivations for it. Or at least I am, it's going that way for me, for sure. Some of my last summer's writing workshop students were, women in their 50s, 60s, 70s. Nobody was in their 70s, 50s and 60s. And it was great, because it was such a pure, nobody was coming into the workshop thinking they were going to, have a best-selling book. They all just had a thing they wanted to share with people. They had good stories too, because they'd already lived quite a bit before they started writing. So I think about that a lot. And I don't know. It's a pretty cool thing if you can make some art and a handful of people are into it, or it makes a difference in their lives, and in a small way, whatever that is, because I think there's very few books or works of art that I have ingested in 41 years of ingesting art that I would say that book changed my life in such a massive way. There aren't that many that make you do a 90-degree turn or 180-degree turn, but there's a ton of them that make you do a little half-degree adjustment to the right or to the left and guide you a little way. So if you can be that for somebody else, it's a pretty awesome thing, I think.